The girl who practically shared the same parents with me always loved to bully me. Once, I merely glanced at another girl across the street. She instantly lunged at me, punched me square in the gut, and then pinned me violently against the wall. Absolute alpha energy. She aggressively declared that for the rest of my life, my eyes were only allowed to look at her. But surprisingly, I wasn't even mad. In fact, I loudly proclaimed that when I grew up, I was going to marry her. Then, plot twist. She went abroad to study right after graduating from elementary school. And just like that, we lost contact. But little did I know, the older sister who constantly terrorized my childhood would grow up to become an ice-cold, utterly ruthless female CEO. Fast forward to the present. Right after getting brutally cheated on by my ex-girlfriend, my best bro, Kyle, dragged me to a club to drown my sorrows. Next thing I knew, he was ushering two girls in black stockings into our private VIP room. When he saw the empty glass in my hand, he froze like a deer in headlights. Bro, why did you drink that? Did you even smell the liquor? I was completely baffled. We're at a club, aren't we supposed to drink? If I don't drink it now, when am I supposed to? Before I could even finish my sentence, my eyes rolled into the back of my head and I collapsed onto the sofa. My body temperature started skyrocketing like an overheating laptop. All right, let's get down to business. You girls take good care of him, I heard Kyle say. My buddy here is still factory sealed and brand new. Be gentle, don't break him. Don't worry, boss. The two girls in stockings giggled cooperatively. They practically carried my burning body out of the VIP room. In a hazy, feverish dream, I felt myself being tossed onto a soft hotel bed. My whole body felt incredibly itchy and restless. Right at that cinematic moment, several muscular bodyguards kicked the door open and mercilessly kicked the girls out of the room. Young master seems to have been given a special mystery juice. I understand, get out. Without my explicit order, absolutely no one is allowed to enter. The bodyguards bowed respectfully and vanished in a flash. What happened next was pure, unadulterated bliss. It felt like every single negative emotion in my body was being completely purged. Early the next morning, I opened my heavy eyes, only to find an absolutely stunning, breathtakingly gorgeous woman sleeping right next to me. Seeing clothes scattered all over the floor like a tornado hit the room, panic set in. I gritted my teeth and cursed Kyle to the high heavens. That absolute scumbag. He actually hired professionals for me? But wow, since when did ladies of the night look like supermodels? Without overthinking it, I tiptoed out of bed, ninja style, quickly threw on my clothes and prepared to make my grand escape. Just then, a voice colder than the Arctic Circle echoed from behind me. And just where do you think you're going? Hearing that, I jumped out of my skin and whipped around. I saw a pair of beautiful, piercing eyes staring dead at me. I assumed my idiot friend Kyle hadn't footed the bill yet, so I tried to play it cool. I pulled out a measly $300 from my wallet and slapped it on the nightstand. Look, last night was just an accident. This should cover it, right? I've got places to be. Peace out! With that, I bolted out the door like my hair was on fire. Looking at the crumpled bills on the table, a fascinating, dangerous smirk appeared on Serena's gorgeous face. So many years have passed, and this little brat is still as cute as ever. I seriously can't wait to mess with him. Because I was in such a frantic rush to escape, I completely missed the red stain on the bedsheets. The second I sprinted out of the hotel, I dialed Kyle's number. You absolute clown. I treated you like a brother, and you dared to set me up with escorts? And on top of that, you didn't even pay the bill? I thought this was your treat. Kyle, who was clearly still half asleep on the other end, sounded utterly confused. Bro, it's the crack of dawn. What the heck are you babbling about? The girls I called. Didn't you kick them out? What bill are you talking about? Hearing that, my brain short-circuited. My hazy memory vaguely recalled the voices I heard right before passing out. Wait, so you're telling me I got used and I had to pay for it? Right at that exact moment, a sleek, black Bentley screeched to a halt right behind me. Before my brain could even process the danger, two mountain-sized goons hopped out of the car. They practically gift-wrapped me in ropes and tossed me into the back seat like a sack of potatoes. As the car roared back to life, I looked up to see a perfectly manicured foot clad in a golden stiletto pressing firmly against my face. Serena leaned down, gave a villainous smirk, and whispered, "Oh, little Carter, you thought you could sleep with me and just run away? Not that easy, buddy. I literally flew all the way back from abroad just for you, remember me?" By now, I had finally recognized this woman in the black dress. I forced out the most pathetic, awkward smile of my life. "Sister, last night was honestly a misunderstanding. Please, have mercy on me. Can we just pretend nothing ever happened? Pretend nothing happened?" Serena pressed her foot down harder, playfully squishing my cheeks. "Keep dreaming, sweetheart. From now on, you are my property. Be a good boy and your allowance will be limitless. But if you disobey me, well, you know what happens." Saying that, Serena grabbed me by the collar with one hand. And, while my eyes were practically popping out of my skull, she forcefully kissed me. Pure, dominating aggression. I widened my eyes and tried to struggle, but all four of my limbs were tied up like a Thanksgiving turkey. I had no choice but to let her aggressively plunder my lips. This undeniably bossy, overwhelming energy. Even after all these years, she hadn't changed one bit. Just as Serena was getting really into it, her phone suddenly started ringing off the hook. She annoyedly picked it up. "Hello, what is it?" From the speaker came the shrill voice of her mother, Diana. "Serena Sterling, are you trying to rebel? I told you to go to the company to take up your new CEO post today. Why aren't you there yet? The entire branch is literally waiting for you." Serena, not backing down an inch, snapped back. "Didn't you want a son-in-law? I'm actively working on it right now. Unless the building is on fire, do not interrupt me. And with that, she hung up the phone. I finally managed to catch my breath and yelled furiously, "You're clinically insane. You're kidnapping me. This is a federal crime." Nobody knows the absolute agony I was feeling in my heart right then. Just yesterday, I was brutally dumped. Today, I'm being forcefully kissed and kidnapped by my childhood sleep paralysis demon. This world has officially gone mad. The sudden phone call had totally ruined Serena's mood. She immediately ordered her bodyguards to toss me out of the moving car. Right before driving off, she threw a sleek business card at my face. "I have corporate empires to run. Call me if you need anything. See you tonight, babe." Tied up like a mummy and rolling on the sidewalk, I wiggled like a tragic worm. Damn it, at least untie me first. Thankfully, at that exact moment, Kyle was taking out the trash from the back of my restaurant. Seeing me doing the worm on the concrete, he walked over, looked genuinely curious, and asked, "Wow, you guys play rough, huh? Getting into bondage already?" The next day at noon, right during the lunch rush, Monica, the secretary, was about to order takeout from a 5-star hotel to bring to her boss. After all, her young miss was notoriously picky about her food. But Serena stopped her. With a mysterious little smile, she handed Monica an address. "I want the Chinese stir-fry from this exact place," she commanded. Hearing this, Monica looked at her like she grew a second head. "Miss, you just got back, but even you should know this place. I mean, maybe you just want to try some street food? That's fine. But this place doesn't do delivery. I'll go pick it up myself." A little while later, Monica stared at the insanely crowded restaurant, losing her patience. She slammed her hand on the counter and yelled at the cashier, "Pack up every single signature dish you have right now. I'm taking it to go and I need it immediately. I'll pay extra." As soon as the words left her mouth, the customers at the nearby tables looked at her like she was an alien. Wendy, who was busy flipping eggs at the counter, smiled politely. "I'm sorry, miss. There are a lot of customers ahead of you. We don't do line jumping here. If you're willing to wait, I'll put your order in the queue." Hearing that, Monica didn't care. She pulled out a thick stack of $100 bills and slammed it on the table. "Does this change your mind?" Wendy smiled softly but didn't touch a single bill. A kind customer nearby, who was also waiting, gently reminded the young secretary, "Miss, you have to wait your turn. First come, first served is Boss Carter's absolute rule. It's to keep things fair for everyone. No matter how much money you throw around, it's useless here." With everyone staring at her, Monica felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. She stomped her foot, stormed out, and muttered, "Refusing to make easy money? What a bunch of idiots!" Very soon, Serena heard about the epic fail. She drove over there herself. Just when everyone thought the Ice Queen was going to cause a scene, Serena casually walked in and sat right in the boss's personal chair. She just scrolled through her phone and didn't even order. She sat there until 2 p.m. By then, the restaurant was empty except for Serena and Monica. Hearing the news, I walked out of the kitchen, giving the two women an incredibly annoyed glare. "What exactly are you two trying to pull here?" Serena looked at me and smirked. To be honest, I love men with principles. The more stubborn you are, the more it turns me on. "I'm hungry. Come home and cook for me, hubby." That single word caused not only Wendy but also Monica to look at me like they had just seen a ghost. Not believing my own ears, I warned her, "Watch your mouth, psycho. Who is your hubby?" Seeing my hostile reaction, Serena looked displeased. Her voice dropped to a freezing temperature. "Come with me, or I will literally tie you up and drag you home. This is your last chance to choose. You really think I'm scared of you?" I turned toward the kitchen and roared, "Brothers, we got troublemakers. Get out here!" Before the echo even faded, Kyle charged out wearing a chef's apron, wielding a giant metal soup ladle like a medieval weapon. "Which punk has a death wish, coming to our turf to cause trouble?" Following right behind him was a flurry of barking. Buster, a golden retriever the size of a small pony, sprinted out of the kitchen and stood defensively in front of me. With my two loyal brothers by my side, my confidence level shot through the roof. I lifted my chin and sneered at Serena. "Listen here, lady. I'm giving you two choices. Walk out yourself, or we'll physically throw you out." Seeing my fierce resistance, Serena gave a chilling, villainous chuckle. For some twisted reason, seeing me fight back only sent a massive wave of excitement through her. It just made her want to crush me under her designer heels even more. After a brief moment of sadistic thrill, Serena snapped back to business mode. She took out her phone and said one word, "Enter." As soon as she spoke, two massive tank-like bodyguards marched in from the street. Seeing them, I gulped audibly, but tried to keep my chest puffed out. "No problem! It's 3 against 2! We have the tactical advantage!" Hearing my battle cry, Monica kindly pointed behind me. "Hey, you might want to see what your brothers are doing." Curious, I turned around. I saw Kyle and Buster the dog literally tiptoeing back toward the kitchen door. Caught in the act, Kyle awkwardly scratched his head. "Oh snap, the supermarket has a discount on cabbage today. Gotta run, you're on your own, Carter." And just like that, the traitor vanished into thin air. I looked down at the golden retriever, chuckling nervously. "Buster, my boy, I feed you the good stuff every day. You wouldn't abandon me, right?" Buster blinked his big doggy eyes, then trotted straight over to Serena, rubbed his head against her long, flawless legs, and let out a cute little whimper, acting like the goodest boy in the world. Serena was very pleased with the dog's betrayal. She reached out her pale, delicate hand, patted his head, and smiled. "Good boy, I'll find you a few beautiful poodle girlfriends later. You two absolute traitors." I cursed under my breath. Looks like I had to handle this myself. With the grace of a ninja, I expertly dropped into a martial arts fighting stance. One of the bodyguards looked at me, genuinely intimidated, and asked, "You're a trained fighter?" Which martial arts master is your teacher? I replied with icy coolness. I haven't traded blows with another living soul in many years. I really didn't want to unleash my wrath upon you all, but since you force my hand, today, you shall witness my true power. Both bodyguards instantly raised their guards, sweating slightly. Even Serena sat up perfectly straight, narrowing her eyes. Did this guy actually have a secret trump card? The very next second, the look in my eyes shifted. An invisible aura exploded from my core. Every muscle twitched with hidden power. And then, I spun on my heels and sprinted for the back door like Usain Bolt. Everyone in the room was flabbergasted. Serena was the first to snap out of it. She barked at the two stunned bodyguards. What the hell are you standing there for? Catch him! Before she even finished her sentence, Buster had already taken the lead. Before I could even reach the exit, I let out an agonizing scream. You stupid dog, let go of my pants! If you don't let go right now, I swear to God you're going into the soup pot tonight. Not long after, I was once again bound like a sausage and tossed into the Bentley. Where are you taking me? My heart was pounding with dread. This crazy woman, was she taking me to some abandoned forest to bury me alive? Serena didn't answer. She just sat next to me, closing her eyes to rest. The car sped through the city streets, eventually pulling up to a massive, luxurious lakeside mansion. It was a 3-story mega villa, easily over 10,000 square feet. After unbinding me, even though Serena looked like she wanted to eat me alive right then and there, she decided her stomach needed actual food first. She grabbed my wrist and dragged me into the mansion. Ignoring the utterly shocked expression of her butler, she shoved me toward the mega kitchen. Her voice was ice. You have exactly 30 minutes. I want 3 main dishes and 1 soup. If it tastes like garbage, you know the consequences. Looking at her terrifying, murderous gaze, I had no choice but to nod furiously like a bobblehead. While I was slaving away in the kitchen, Serena took a hot shower in her master bathroom. When I walked out carrying a plate of braised eggplant, I saw Serena wearing a silky black slip dress, leaning elegantly against a mahogany chair, watching me. Seeing her outfit, I audibly gulped and my face flushed red. This woman might be a certified psychopath, but she was an absolute goddess. Serena, who was resting her chin on her hand, caught my little micro-expression instantly. She flashed a mischievous, dangerous smile and asked, "Do I look pretty?" I set the 3 dishes and the soup on the dining table. Even though I desperately wanted to scream, yes, I had to maintain my masculine pride. I tried to act tough. The clothes are nice. It's just a shame the person wearing them is a bit chubby. Hearing that, the temperature in Serena's eyes dropped below 0. She reached out and yanked me violently into her lap. What are you doing? I stared at her threatening gaze, my voice cracking like a teenager. Serena pinned my arms down, the corner of her lips curling into a wicked sneer. Since you clearly don't know how to filter your words, allow me to help you shut that mouth. With that, she leaned in and captured my lips. I widened my eyes and tried to push her away, but catching my rebellious glare, Serena just punched me right in the stomach. Oof! I was in too much pain to fight back. Her soft lips fiercely dominated mine, making my heart race like a sports car. And weirdly, I actually kind of liked it. A long time later, Serena finally released me. She wiped her lips, gave a seductive smirk, and whispered, "Remember this, you are my property, your body, your soul. They all belong to me. If you dare let anyone else touch you, I will lock you in a cage. You'll be my personal little pet bird for the rest of your natural life." After delivering her super villain monologue, she finally let me up. Before letting me go completely, she even pinched my cheek like a cute baby. Black cartoon lines practically appeared on my forehead. I never thought the day would come when I would be the one getting toyed with. Unbelievable. Serena shoved a pair of chopsticks into my hand. "I don't want to feed myself. You feed me. I'm exhausted." I muttered a curse under my breath, but still picked up the chopsticks. I grabbed a piece of crispy pork belly and brought it to her lips. Serena instantly lit up with joy. I have to admit, my cooking skills perfectly hit her taste buds. Every single dish made her unable to stop chewing. After eating her fill, Serena headed toward her master bedroom. Without even looking back, she declared, "You can go home now. Cook dinner for me tonight. I'll come over to eat." Hearing that, I was so thrilled I sprinted out of the mansion, punching the air in victory. "You still want me to cook dinner? In your dreams, psycho. The world is a huge place. I can just find a random place to hide. It's not like she has a GPS tracker on my forehead." But what I didn't know was, Serena was standing by her giant window, watching my fleeing silhouette with a dark smirk. Then, a voice came through her earpiece. "Hey Serena, did you hear? The Kensington family is our new business partner. When you reject Chad Kensington's proposal this time, don't be too ruthless about it."
Also, you have to bring a boyfriend home to meet your parents this year, got it?
Yeah, I know, Serena replied impatiently, cutting the call. She yanked the curtains shut and went to sleep. Time flew by, and soon it was evening. Serena stared at the closed D sign hanging on my restaurant's door. A chilling aura radiated from her entire body. Her bodyguards had never seen her this furious before. After she hung up a call, a bodyguard approached her nervously to report, Mr. Carter is not at his house. We hacked the neighborhood security cameras. He hasn't been home all day." A deeply obsessive, almost sickly gleam flashed in Serena's eyes. "This cute little man, he actually wants to play hide-and-seek with me?" She immediately ordered the bodyguards to kick the restaurant door down. Buster the dog trotted happily out from inside, running straight to Serena and rubbing his head against her legs. Serena looked down at him, crouched, pet his head, and smiled. "Hey, Buster, do you know where my little Carter ran off to?" Buster let out a sharp bark and immediately sprinted across the street. The 2 bodyguards chased after the dog. Serena calmly got back into her car and told the driver to follow them. Meanwhile, completely clueless about the impending doom, I was holding my phone, recording Kyle. I'm going to count to 3. Take off those clothes right now. If you don't, I am leaking your entire browser search history. You don't want the world to know your true dark secrets, do you? Brother Carter, please have mercy. This is too humiliating. Eventually, under my terrifying blackmail, he stripped down. He put on a ridiculous pink jacket and a tight white miniskirt that I had bought just for this occasion. Finally, he slipped in some high heels and a blonde wig. I proudly held up my phone, snapped 2 blackmail photos of him twerking, and laughed. Next time you try to set me up with escorts, I'm posting these straight to the internet. Just then, there was a heavy knock on the door. I frowned. It's pitch black outside. Who the heck is visiting? I was having so much fun, and now I'm interrupted. The metal door slowly creaked open. Standing there was a face so cold it could freeze hell over. Seeing Serena, I stumbled back 2 steps, absolutely horrified. Impossible! How did you find me here? To avoid cameras, I transferred on like 3 different bus lines. There's no physical way you tracked me. Right then, Buster squeezed past the 2 bodyguards. He barked at me twice, his doggy eyes shining with absolute smugness and betrayal. I glared at that wretched mutt, grinding my teeth in pure fury. Serena stood in the doorway, staring at the woman in the living room whose back was turned to her. Her eyes turned even colder. Her voice carried a deadly, mocking chuckle. No wonder you kept ignoring me. Turns out you were hiding a little treasure in your basement. But your taste in women is seriously lacking. Just look at those chunky legs and that rough skin. But it doesn't matter. Once I chop her into tiny pieces, it all looks the same. The fish in the bay are going to love this. Hearing the threat of being turned into fish food, Kyle whipped around, covering half his face, and began bawling. Don't do it! It's all a big misunderstanding. I'm a real man, I swear. It's not what you think. That deep baritone male voice made Serena jump. Then she looked at me with the weirdest, most judgmental stare ever. I avoided her gaze, coughed awkwardly twice, and muttered in embarrassment. Don't look at me like that! My orientation is completely standard. Even if I did swing that way, I wouldn't pick this ugly dude. After a very long, uncomfortable silence, Serena coldly commanded, Take him away! The 2 bodyguards stepped up, hoisted me onto their shoulders, and threw me into the car. Inside, Serena grabbed me by the throat, narrowing her dangerous eyes. It seems my warning this morning didn't stick. The line of men waiting to date me could stretch all the way to Paris. What exactly is wrong with me? You'd rather play dress up with that ugly freak than be with me? Feeling her grip tighten on my neck, I snorted coldly, refusing to surrender my dignity. I have my pride. I don't rely on women. Besides, childhood stuff aside, we literally just re-met a couple of days ago. What is your ulterior motive for stalking me? Serena glared at me with absolute frost, then slowly released her grip, turned her head, and looked out the window. She didn't look at me for the rest of the ride. Soon, the car pulled up to my tiny, run-down apartment. After unlocking the door, I walked straight into the kitchen out of habit. Serena casually strolled around my living room, then wandered into my bedroom. On the wall hung a photo of me and my ex, Lily, taken back in college. Overall, my apartment was pretty cozy. When she walked out of the room, that framed photo had been ripped into 100 tiny pieces and dumped into the trash can. A short while later, I carried out 2 plates of food, slapped them on the table, and walked toward my room. Without looking back, I snapped, Wash the dishes when you're done. If you don't, then next time, even if you beat me to death, I'm never cooking for you again. Serena's eyes narrowed dangerously. This pathetic little man actually dared to threaten her. She quickly finished her food, slammed her empty bowl on the table, and marched straight into my bedroom. By now, I had noticed the shredded photo, but I honestly didn't care. Seeing Serena walk in, I kept reading my book and casually said, If you want to crash here, take the guest room. Next time, remember to knock. Maybe it was our argument in the car that made her so frigid. We'll talk about next time when it happens. Serena sat down on the edge of my bed. She kicked off her heels, revealing her pale, perfect feet, and quickly crawled onto the bed like a predator. She pinned my wrists down like she was interrogating a war criminal. Did you sleep with her? My eyes shifted away and I bit my lip. That's none of your business. It has nothing to do with you. Hearing that, Serena already had her answer. A mesmerizing, terrifying smile bloomed on her face. She leaned down and forcefully kissed me. Suddenly, I felt a tiny pill slide from her mouth into mine. I glared at her and violently pushed her off. What the hell did you just make me swallow? Almost immediately, my breathing grew incredibly heavy. My body started feeling weak yet burning with fever. Serena stood barefoot on the cold floor, looking at me with total apathy. Her voice was bone-chilling. I gave you something that will make you more obedient. If you can actually resist it, it proves you truly despise me in your heart. If that happens, I will never, ever bother you again. But literally 1 second later, I lunged at her like a wild beast. We adult wrestled for over an hour. The next morning, I slowly opened my eyes, staring at my familiar ceiling. Hearing a soft rustling noise next to me, I subconsciously turned my head. I instantly froze like a statue. Serena, wearing nothing but black lingerie, was digging through my personal wardrobe. Very quickly, she found 2 oversized pieces of my clothing and slipped them on. She turned around just in time to catch my intense, unblinking stare. Annoyed, she picked up a shirt from the floor and threw it at my face. What are you staring at, pervert? Isn't it your fault for ripping my dress to shreds last night? Get up and make me breakfast. I quickly dodged the flying shirt, pouting my lips. It was just an old piece of fabric anyway. I'll just buy you a new one, big deal. That dress was a custom piece from a top-tier European designer. It cost $100,000. Are you absolutely sure you want to buy me a new one? Miss, what exactly would you like for breakfast? I instantly bolted upright and started putting my pants on. Looking down at the floor, I saw the black dress I had reduced to confetti the night before. I couldn't help but grumble under my breath. This flimsy, cheap-looking rag is worth $100,000? I'd have to sell my organs to afford that. Out in the living room, I simply fried 2 eggs, warmed up 2 glasses of fresh milk, and set them on the table with some pastries. I have to go back to my hometown for a trip today. I probably won't be back for 2 days. If you want my cooking, you'll have to wait until I get back. Serena, who was happily sipping her milk, shot me a glance and smirked. What's this? You don't hate me anymore? I scoffed. I never hated you. I just hate it when people treat me too nicely for absolutely no reason. It makes my skin crawl. Even though I've only been out of college for 2 years, I've worked enough odd jobs to know one universal truth. Nobody treats you like royalty for no reason, unless they are completely brain dead. And Serena, in my eyes, was definitely not brain dead. She was more like a highly functioning lunatic. Sitting across from me, Serena had no idea what I was analyzing. She just sat there looking insanely attractive. Her long, pale legs were propped up flawlessly, looking like they belonged on a magazine cover. When you go back, take me with you to meet your parents. Hearing that, my brain short-circuited. I'd rather jump into a volcano than take you. The moment I said that, Serena's eyes turned lethal. She stood up, reached across the table, and grabbed me by the chin, enforcing me to look dead into her eyes. Her voice was terrifyingly cold. I think you're deeply confused about something. Don't think that just because of our current relationship, you have the right to defy me. I am informing you, not asking for your permission. Stared down by those absolute iceberg eyes, I couldn't help but swallow hard and nod in defeat. Seeing my submission, Serena finally let go of my chin. She walked around the table, stood next to me, grabbed my collar, and pulled me into a deep, passionate kiss. She didn't let go until I was practically turning blue from lack of oxygen. Serena finally released me, grabbed her phone from the table, and headed for the door. Consider that your reward, she said. While we travel to your hometown, you'd better be on your best behavior. Otherwise, you know exactly what will happen. I just had my secretary transfer some pocket money to your account. If it's not enough, come find me. With a loud slam, the front door closed. Almost the very next second, my phone buzzed with a bank notification. Account ending in 9527. Deposit amount, $1 million. Looking at that text message, I looked up at the ceiling and sighed heavily. This crazy rich woman casually dropping $1 million on me. It's so much money. It makes me want to stop trying in life entirely. But I quickly shook my head, a wave of anxiety hitting me. I scolded myself. I am a strong, independent man. How can I become a sugar baby? If word gets out, my reputation is ruined. Absolutely not. This woman is way too cunning. She's trying to corrupt my pure soul with her filthy money. After finishing breakfast, I quickly packed my bags, grabbed my car keys, and hit the road to my hometown. Meanwhile, in Serena's chauffeured car, Monica was sitting in the passenger seat reviewing reports, while Serena sat in the back looking slightly dazed. Thinking about Carter's behavior, he acts like he doesn't care, but he's incredibly stubborn. If I push him too hard, what if I accidentally break him? This wonderful man I've had my eye on since childhood? I need to cherish him. She looked over and saw Monica intensely reading the report. Suddenly, she asked out of nowhere, Monica, tell me, how exactly do you capture a man's heart? Hearing this, Monica didn't even look up from her papers. Capturing a man's heart? That's child's play. Then, realizing who asked, Monica snapped her head up, stared at Serena, looked her up and down twice, and said with a complex expression, You've changed. Are you even the Ice Queen CEO I used to know? If you don't want your entire month's salary docked, I suggest you answer the question. Serena's tone was dangerously soft. Monica pouted, forced to comply. Well, getting a guy to fall for you isn't rocket science, especially with a principled guy like Boss Carter. All you have to do is make him completely used to your constant presence. Then, suddenly give him the cold shoulder. Boom, the seduction trap is sprung. He'll suddenly realize he literally can't live without you. Mission accomplished. Honestly though, Boss Carter is a total catch. Even I'm starting to catch feelings. Haha, she laughed halfway before abruptly choking on her own spit. Because Monica suddenly realized that if she laughed any harder, her boss might literally slice her in half with a katana. Sitting in the back seat, Serena looked deep in thought regarding Monica's advice. The trick to making a man obsessed is to ignore him. But the main problem was, she was the one falling into the trap. How could she possibly control herself enough to ignore him? Meanwhile, after driving all morning, I finally arrived at a high-end villa district. I parked in front of a swanky 2-story house. Hearing the engine, a woman wearing an apron walked out from the first floor. She was wearing nude pantyhose and clearly pushing 40, but didn't look a day over 25. Carter, I missed you to death! Carter! The woman ran up and threw her arms around me, looking overjoyed. Seeing her about to press her face against mine, I quickly pushed her away, looking highly annoyed. Aunt Chloe, please go find a man and get married. If you keep acting like this, I'm never visiting you again. This holy maiden was none other than my youngest aunt, Chloe Cole, a certified older single woman who owned a fashion empire worth tens of millions. A true, verified sugar mama. If I really wanted to, I could just be a spoiled rich kid and never have to flip another burger in my life. But I have too much pride to be a freeloader. I simply cannot eat soft rice. But the next second, my stomach received a brutal punch. My eyes bulged out, and I almost vomited my breakfast. Chloe pulled her fist back, put her hands on her hips and sneered. Call me a spinster one more time and I guarantee you'll spend the rest of your life in a wheelchair. With that, she marched back into the villa without even turning her head. Get inside and eat. I knew you were coming, so I slow-cooked some spare ribs. Guaranteed to make you drool. I rubbed my aching stomach, pouted and limped inside. My relationship with my aunt was great. We act more like bickering siblings than adult relatives. After messing around for a bit, we started eating lunch. Chloe dropped a juicy piece of rib into my bowl. Sitting there with her long legs crossed, she asked curiously, "So, did your childhood sweetheart come looking for you yet? How far has your relationship progressed?" I nearly choked on a mouthful of rice. It's been so many years since we saw each other. Right now, we're barely even normal friends. Hearing that, Chloe looked visibly disappointed. She sighed dramatically. What a tragedy. Back in the day, you practically screamed that you wanted to marry little Serena. If anyone tried to stop you two from sleeping in the same bed, you threw a massive tantrum. Hearing that, I froze like a glitched NPC. I remember sleeping in the same bed, but did I really say I wanted to marry her? When did that happen? After all, it was decades ago. My childhood memories were fuzzy at best. But Chloe looked at me like I was an absolute moron. She confidently declared, "Of course you said it. And little Serena has never forgotten it for a single second. Why else do you think she flew all the way back from abroad to find you? Did you think it was because of your stunning good looks? Just eat your food." After lunch, Chloe went upstairs to change clothes, and I was relegated to dishwashing duty. When I carried the stack of plates into the kitchen and saw the sink piled high with crusty, moldy dishes that had probably been there for days, my brain filled with righteous fury. She's so lazy. No wonder nobody wants to marry her. While I was scrubbing, my phone rang. I dried my hands and pulled it out. I was instantly speechless. The caller ID read, "Baby boo." I didn't even need to think. This was definitely Serena's doing when she messed with my phone. After a moment of hesitation, I picked up anyway. Because if I ignored it, this psycho would probably show up at my house with a machete. As soon as the line connected, an icy voice echoed, "Why did it take you so long to answer?" My entire body shivered involuntarily. I panicked and replied, "I was washing dishes. Do you need something?" On the other side, in her penthouse office, Serena sounded a bit lethargic. "I missed you. We haven't seen each other in 4 hours, and you didn't even call me once. Tell me, do I need to send my men to kidnap you again?" Kidnapping is a felony. If you know the law and break it, the sentence is even worse. I'm just a worried girlfriend wanting to keep her boyfriend close. Isn't that completely reasonable? Who is your boyfriend? Careful, or I'll sue you for defamation. Serena chuckled softly. Her voice was relaxed, but carried absolute authority. Right now, say something that makes me happy. Otherwise, I'm driving over there right now, and you know the consequences. Finally, I gritted my teeth and forced out every single syllable. I like you. I like you the most. You tyrant. Even though I sounded like a hostage reading a ransom note, Serena was ecstatic. She smiled brighter than the sun and excitedly squealed, "My man is just too cute. Say it a few more times. I want to hear it again." But the only reply she got was the beep, beep, beep of me hanging up. Staring at the disconnected screen, Serena's face instantly went back to sub-zero temperatures. Her eyes radiated murderous intent. This punk dared to hang up on me? It seems my discipline wasn't harsh enough. Right at that moment, Monica walked in holding a massive stack of documents and smiled. "Hey Serena, there's a new bakery that opened nearby. We are docking your pay by $50 this month." Serena cut her off coldly, causing Monica to freeze. Confused and outraged, Monica demanded, "Why are you docking my pay?" Serena flatly replied, "Because you stepped into my office with your left foot first." The very next morning, I opened the front door and saw a sleek black Bentley parked out front. Standing next to the Bentley was a girl in a black dress, standing perfectly still. Her beautiful face looked like an angel standing in the morning mist. I walked up, stared at Serena in pure shock, and asked, "What are you doing here?" "Eating breakfast with you," Serena replied coldly. I was flabbergasted. She drove all the way from Kingsville to Long Creek at the crack of dawn just to eat breakfast with me? Is this girl completely brain damaged? Aunt Chloe, standing nearby, caught the weird romantic tension in the air and instantly guessed what was going on. She immediately opened her car door and hopped in. "Oh my, I just remembered I have an emergency at the office. Serena, you guys have fun. Auntie is leaving now." With that, the engine roared and she sped off. But she quickly reversed, rolled down the window and smirked. "Forgot to mention I won't be coming home tonight. You two kids don't hold back, okay?" Once Chloe's car disappeared over the horizon, Serena flatly commanded, "Get in!" I opened the door and slid into the back seat. But the very next second, Serena got in too. Not in the seat next to me, but right on my lap! Her slender arms wrapped around my neck. A soft, intoxicating perfume wafted into my nose, making me dizzy. Ew! I was completely caught off guard by her aggressive move. My heart was beating like a drum. Just as I was about to push her off, a chilling whisper hit my ear. "If you dare move a muscle, I have zero problem ending you right here, right now." Hearing that, I depressedly dropped my hands, letting her sit on me like a human beanbag. Serena hugged my waist tightly, pressing her body flush against mine. We could literally feel each other's heartbeats. Suddenly, I felt a sharp, piercing pain in my neck. I sucked in a breath of cold air. This crazy chick actually bit me. Is she part canine? A long moment later, Serena finally let go, looking completely satisfied. She stared at the bite mark on my neck and smiled triumphantly. "This is your punishment for hanging up on me. Let's see if you ever dare to hang up on me again. With this mark, you belong to me for the rest of your life." Saying that, Serena gently leaned against my chest, thoroughly enjoying the moment. Soon enough, her breathing steadied. She had actually fallen asleep. The driver glanced in the rearview mirror and let out a massive sigh of relief. While keeping his eyes on the road, he whispered, "The butler told me Miss Serena stayed up all night without a wink of sleep. Forget about breakfast this morning. She didn't even eat lunch or dinner yesterday. She hasn't had a single drop of water." Hearing that, I was slightly stunned. I looked down at Serena, who was curled up like a black kitten in my arms. I suddenly remembered what my aunt said yesterday. Just because of some stupid innocent promise I made as a kid, she flew back from overseas? Does a girl this foolish actually exist in the real world? My mind started wandering in a million directions. But remembering her explosive temper, I quickly shook my head. We aren't even officially dating, and she's already this feral. If we actually got together, wouldn't she just chase me around with a whip every single day? Serena, deep in her sleep, suddenly furrowed her brows as if having a nightmare. She swung her hand and slapped me right across the face. She muttered subconsciously, "Who told you to disobey me, you stupid jerk? I'll beat you to death." Beat you to death. Yep, at her core, this girl was still an absolute lunatic. Later, I told the driver to head back to Kingsville, and I texted my aunt goodbye. When Serena woke up, I carried a plate of tomato scrambled eggs and a bowl of white rice into the room and set it in front of her. The supermarket was pretty bare today. Just make do with this. Eat up. I'll make something fancier tomorrow. Looking at the steaming food, Serena lay in bed, blinked at me, and ordered, "What are you staring at? Feed me. Do I really need to spell it out for you?" I got a little angry and glared at her. "You're not a toddler. Do you need someone to spoon feed you every day? Are your arms broken?" Hearing this, Serena's eyes narrowed. Suddenly, she kicked off the blanket and pounced on me. Luckily, my reflexes were sharp. I managed to place the food tray safely to the side so it wouldn't go to waste. Serena pinned me down, her face full of sadistic glee. She giggled. "It seems before we eat, I need to teach you some basic manners on how to speak to your owner." With that, she placed her soft, pale foot right against my face, pressing down hard as if venting her frustration. I was about to fight back, but then I saw Serena pull a literal hunting knife out of nowhere. I quietly surrendered. Resigned to my fate, I picked up a piece of tomato with the chopsticks. Serena opened her cute little mouth and happily chewed it. After finishing the meal, she casually announced, "I already told my parents. Tomorrow, you're coming with me to meet them, just to get them off my back." "Not going," I replied instantly. Shing! The hunting knife was slammed onto the table by her hand, oozing absolute lethal threat. But this time, I wasn't scared. I puffed my chest out and said arrogantly, "You think this intimidation tactic still works on me? I bet you wouldn't dare." Before I even finished my sentence, I saw a silver blur flash before my eyes. Reflexively looking down, I saw the blade embedded deep into the sofa, right between my legs. The blade sliced through my pants and sank into the upholstery. A cold sweat instantly drenched my back. Serena leaned in, grabbed my chin with her freezing hand. Her eyes looked bloodshot, and a terrifying smirk played on her lips. "What was that you just said? I didn't quite catch it." I instantly flipped my script, speaking as calmly as possible. "Actually, I've been dying to meet Uncle and Auntie for ages." Hearing that, Serena smiled with satisfaction, pulled the knife out, and whispered in my ear, "Sweetheart, this isn't the first time you've talked back to me. My patience has a limit. Next time, you'd better think very carefully before you speak. Understand?" Feeling the razor-sharp edge of the blade against my throat, I gulped loudly and nodded, trembling. "Sister, please be careful with that. I haven't updated my will yet." Seeing me shivering like a leaf, Serena looked incredibly satisfied. She lifted my face, gave me a loving kiss, and cooed, "Good boy. You're just way too cute. I'm absolutely obsessed with you." I shrank my neck back and whispered, "Sister, there's something I don't know if I should say. Speak. I'll allow it. When you say stuff like that, you sound like a serial killer." The moment those words left my mouth, the temperature in the living room dropped by 10 degrees. It was freezing. And then, a tragic scream echoed through the living room. "Sister, put the knife down first. We can talk about this like civilized adults." After lunch, Serena dragged me out the door and headed straight for the biggest luxury mall in Kingsville. "If you're coming home with me, you can't wear those flea market rags. You'll embarrass me." Half an hour later, we arrived at the mall. There were plenty of high-end boutiques here. Even though it wasn't custom-tailored, it was acceptable. Walking into the store, the saleswoman looked at me with pure shock. Noticing the two bright red handprints slapped across my face, she gasped, "Sir, your face!" I pouted. "It's fine, I got bit by a rabid dog." Instantly, Serena stomped her heel brutally onto my foot and sneered coldly. She increased the pressure. This pathetic man actually called her a dog? Clearly the lesson hadn't sunk in yet. I sucked in a sharp breath of agony, but didn't dare fight back. I forced a horrific, pained smile. "Being stepped on by you is the greatest honor of my life. I'm so happy I could die." Watching our bizarre interaction, the saleswoman stood there awkwardly. Seeing us finally stop, she quickly spoke up. "Are you two looking for suits? Let me show you our collection." Guided by the saleswoman, we walked into the premium section. The clothes here were insane. Many had real gold threads woven in. Some of the dresses were bedazzled with literal diamonds. Just looking at them made my wallet cry. Curious, I picked up a price tag on a suit. My face contorted in horror and I whispered to Serena, "Hey, psycho, every single suit here is 6 figures. Let's go somewhere cheaper, okay? I'm only going to wear it once anyway." Hearing that, Serena shot me a look and smirked with sadistic glee. She turned to the saleswoman. "Bring out the 10 most expensive Zen suits you have. He wants to wear cheap garbage?" then this young miss will force him to wear the most expensive fabric on earth. The saleswoman almost passed out from excitement. She thought, jackpot! A whale client! Yes, ma'am, right away. Please wait over here. We have complimentary espresso. I couldn't help but groan. You are so wasteful. You're literally burning money. Just to meet your parents, you're dropping hundreds of thousands of dollars on suits? That's real money. Serena loved my agonizing reaction. She smiled. Am I burning your money? Are we spending your inheritance? I don't care. So why are you crying about it? Or, have you fallen for me, and now you're trying to manage my finances? My face went beet red. I quickly took a sip of espresso to calm down and muttered, what kind of garbage are you spouting? I'd rather date a tiger in the zoo. I'll never fall for you. A deadly icy glare shot my way. I instantly clamped my mouth shut, not daring to utter another syllable. Since she was bringing me to meet her parents, Serena casually dropped a fortune on suits for me. She didn't care if they looked good. They just had to be the most expensive. The saleswoman was buzzing with adrenaline. She quickly rolled out a premium clothing rack with 10 immaculate suits hanging perfectly. Even the silk ties were pre-matched. Serena glanced at the suits, then threw a black blazer at my face. Go try it on. See if it fits. I looked at the price tag, utterly shell-shocked, as I walked to the fitting room. Holy crap! Just the jacket alone was 150 grand. This is highway robbery. Suddenly, I noticed Serena following right behind me. I went on high alert. I'm going to change clothes. Why are you following me? Serena kept a perfectly straight face. You're changing clothes. Naturally, I want to watch you change. Is there a problem? Seeing that she wasn't even trying to hide her perversion, I cursed internally. You absolute freak! But I didn't dare say anything, and just continued into the fitting room. Whatever. We'd already wrestled twice anyway, so what's the big deal? But I instantly regretted it. While the saleswoman was ringing up the prices, she heard bizarre noises coming from the fitting room. She instantly blushed red and lowered her head. You pervert! I'm trying on clothes. Why are you unbuckling my belt? Hey, stop touching that! And then she started doing some very inappropriate things. When we finally exited the fitting room, Serena walked out first, wiped her mouth looking incredibly satisfied, handed her platinum card to the staff, and said smugly, I'll take all of them. Charge it. I stumbled out behind her. My neck now sported fresh hickeys, plus a new set of teeth marks. This girl was 100% part canine. The next morning, I was sitting in my sugar mama's black Bentley, happily sipping a boba tea, watching the scenery blur past the window. I sighed heavily. Wow, the freeloader lifestyle is amazing. Serena was sitting right on my lap. Every now and then, she would take my boba tea and take a sip, leaving her bright red lipstick mark on my straw. If this were the old me, I definitely would have fought back. But after all the trauma I'd endured, I had grown completely immune to her weirdness. It's just an indirect kiss, right? Whatever. 2 hours later, the Bentley finally arrived at the provincial capital. We drove for another 30 minutes. The city buildings started to thin out. Trees lined the roads, and the architecture became insanely high-end. I pouted. Are we there yet? You're filthy rich. Why do you live in the middle of nowhere? Serena lay against my chest, silent. But the driver understood the assignment and spoke up. Mr. Carter, we're almost there. This entire mountain is owned by the Sterling family, just a little further. I thought renting a whole mountain to build a mansion was something that only happened in trashy romance novels. I never expected someone to actually buy a literal mountain in real life. A while later, the car parked in front of a mind-bogglingly huge estate. Serena dragged me into the mansion. Maids and bodyguards lined the halls, bowing deeply and respectfully. Serena just nodded coolly. I, on the other hand, was looking around like a tourist. The interior wasn't gaudy and gold like I expected. It was actually very cozy, decked out in premium mahogany. Sitting on the living room sofa was a middle-aged couple, chatting happily with a young man in a flashy blue suit. I immediately guessed this guy was the annoyance Serena had mentioned. The guy on the sofa, Chad Kensington, took one look at Serena, and his eyes instantly filled with toxic possessiveness. He stood up, about to walk over and greet her smoothly, when he saw Serena actively interlock her fingers with mine. She dragged me right in front of the elders. Mom, Dad, this is my boyfriend, Carter Cole, the son-in-law you've been dreaming of. I smiled politely and bowed. Good afternoon, sir, ma'am. Her mother, Diana, stood up, scanning me from head to toe, and smiled. So this is Carter. You've grown into such a handsome man. But her dad, Stephen, just scoffed coldly. If looks could kill, I would have died 100 brutal deaths by now. Hearing Serena introduce me, Chad Kensington was practically boiling with jealousy. But assuming his rival was just some broke loser, he quickly regained his arrogant confidence. So what if he's handsome? In this world, family wealth is all that matter. Thinking that, he stuck his hand out to me and gave a fake, polite smile. Nice to meet you. I'm Chad Kensington, PhD from Cambridge University. I looked at the hand hovering in front of me and just smiled. I'm Serena's boyfriend. Chad's face turned green. He forced a laugh and bragged, my family is in the hospitality business. We own over 200 luxury hotel chains nationwide. Our net worth is just a few billion. Hearing that, I just smiled wider and repeated, I'm Serena's boyfriend. Chad stood there with his hands suspended in the air, completely frozen. He ground his teeth, staring at me like he wanted to breathe fire. Besides those 4 words, do you know how to say anything else? Diana looked at me, then at the completely speechless Chad, and secretly chuckled. This kid is still a master troll. Chad couldn't take the humiliation anymore. He gave a strained smile to the elders. Uncle Steve and Aunt Diana, I just remembered I have an urgent business matter to attend to. I'll take my leave now. I'll come visit you two another time. The parents nodded in response. Chad turned and power walked out the door. If he stayed any longer, he was terrified I would actually make him pop a blood vessel. Losing a fistfight is one thing, but losing face in front of the Sterling family was a massive disaster. He had never heard of Serena having a boyfriend before. This guy appearing out of nowhere, she definitely just hired an actor to use as a meat shield. Yes, that has to be it. Seeing the arrogant Chad storm off in a rage, Serena patted my shoulder approvingly, a rare compliment. Good boy, you'll get a special reward for that later. Diana shot her daughter a glare. What good boy? You didn't leave that poor boy any shred of dignity. All right, enough. Let's eat. If we don't eat now, the food will get cold. I had barely sat down at the dining table when a massive bottle of hard liquor was slammed down right in front of me. I instinctively looked up at Steven sitting across from me. He gave a terrifyingly cold smile. Listen here, punk. You have the guts to date my daughter? I hope you've packed your bags for the deserted island I'm exiling you to. My face went dark. Excuse me? When did I ever seduce her? She's the one who kidnapped me, Serena said flatly. Dad, what are you doing? Seeing the icy glare from his beloved daughter, the ultimate girl dad, Steven, immediately pulled the liquor bottle back and laughed nervously. Serena, sweetie, Dad was just giving him a little test. Come on! You better check yourself, old man. Let me tell you right now, it's a miracle our daughter finally found someone she likes. If you dare sabotage this, don't blame me if I make your life a living hell. Diana threatened her husband with a lethal glare. Then, she smiled warmly and handed me a bowl of rice. She laughed. Carter, honey, just make yourself at home. Don't mind your uncle. He just has a bit of a temper. I let out a massive sigh of relief. I was just reaching out to take the bowl when Diana softly sweetly whispered, but if you ever dare break our Serena's heart, a deserted island will be the least of your worries. I finally know where this psychopath gets it from. Aunt Diana is even more hardcore. I thought meeting the parents would be my chance to score some brownie points. I didn't expect the mom to be a literal mafia boss, threatening to dump my body on a deserted island. I was sweating bullets. As soon as lunch was over, I begged to leave, terrified that if I stayed, I would accidentally go missing. Serena, clearly annoyed, drove me back to my restaurant. What kind of family is this? The daughter is a tyrant. The mother is a super tyrant. None of them are people you want to mess with. Thank God Serena has to go to work tomorrow. I am finally free from this ocean of misery. The car pulled up in front of Meadows' diner. Just as I was reaching for the door handle, Serena, sitting next to me, spoke in a voice that commanded absolute obedience. Starting tomorrow, you will deliver lunch to my office every single day. 3 main dishes and 1 soup. No repeating dishes for an entire month. I instantly rejected the idea. I whined. You know how crazy the lunch rush is at my restaurant. I don't have time to play Uber Eats for you. Hearing this, Serena casually reached under her car seat. She pulled out 2 extremely graphic adult comic books and smiled wickedly. Seeing the covers, I instantly started swearing in my head. I hid those so well. How the hell did she find them? Serena flipped through the pages, crossed her long, flawless legs, and smiled like a supervillain. Men, you wouldn't want the whole world to know you read this kind of literature, would you? I never expected a guy who looks so innocent to be into such hardcore stuff. My face turned the color of a tomato. I tried to snatch them back, but meeting Serena's freezing gaze, I awkwardly cleared my throat and stammered. Those were a gift from a friend. It felt like a waste to throw them away. It's not like I actually read them. So about delivering my lunch, it's a yes, right? No problem at all. Leave it to me. I love helping others. Saying that, I kicked the car door open and ran for my life. My dignity was completely shattered. My reputation was in ashes. The Bentley's engine roared back to life. Heading toward the Sterling Corporation's Kingsville branch, Serena was still holding the comic book, looking highly amused. She stared at the drawings of anime girls in black stockings, glass slippers, and librarian glasses, exuding a nerdy, sexy vibe. She looked deeply thoughtful. So this is the aesthetic he's into? I'll have to try it out next time. When I stumbled back into the restaurant, the lunch rush was over. Only a few tables were left finishing their meals. Wendy was ringing someone up. Seeing me return, she laughed. Boss, you're finally back. We were swamped today. Kyle is practically dead on his feet. Curious, I peeked into the kitchen to assess the damage. I saw Kyle lying flat on the floor, barely breathing, looking like he was crossing over to the afterlife. Next to him, Buster the dog was wagging his tail, constantly slapping Kyle in the face with it. Kyle weakly tried to push the dog away and wheezed, Buster, stop messing around. Let me pass away in peace. Seeing this tragic scene, I knocked on the kitchen door. Seeing the root cause of his suffering appear, Kyle instantly resurrected from the dead. He scrambled up, grabbed me by the collar, and roared. So you finally decided to show your face? I am going to end you today. I'll give you a $100 bonus. I kept a perfectly straight face. You think you can buy my loyalty with money? Instantly, Kyle switched from homicidal rage to ultimate suck-up mode. He smoothed out my collar, smiling like a blooming flower. Long live the boss. For $100, I'll endure any torture. If you want me to slow roast Buster over an open fire, I'll do it right now. Hearing that, Buster rolled his eyes, bared his teeth, and lunged straight for Kyle's rear end. Kyle ran screaming around the kitchen, begging for mercy. Watching the happy customers, I couldn't help but think that sometimes having too much business is a curse. But at that exact moment, in a private VIP room at the rival restaurant across the street, 2 men and 1 woman were plotting something dark. These 3 were the owners of the competing restaurants on the block. They considered me their mortal enemy. The owner of the futuristic-themed diner sighed, turning to the other 2. Derek, Holly, you saw it today. Meadows' diner is packed to the brim. Over the past 2 years, he's cannibalized all our customers. Our foot traffic is dropping every single month. If this keeps up, we'll all be bankrupt. Hearing this, Holly, the owner of the other diner, rested her chin on her hand and said coldly, "Do you have a better idea? That guy Carter is always on guard. He doesn't do delivery, so we can't tamper with his food on the road. And nobody knows who his suppliers are, so we can't cut off his ingredients." For the past 2 years, Holly's restaurant, located 2 streets down, was the hardest hit. If things didn't change, she'd be in the red within 6 months. Seeing Holly's frustration, Homer gave a sinister, rat-like smile. He lowered his voice. "Holly, my dear, I have a solution. A permanent solution that will ensure that punk Carter never cooks another meal again. The only question is, do you have the guts to do it?" Saying that, Homer rubbed his thumb and index finger together. "Spit it out. What's your grand plan?" Holly glared at him suspiciously. "I already ran a background check. That kid has zero backing. He's just a fresh college grad who showed up 2 years ago. If he opened a restaurant after us, why don't we just force him to shut down?" Everyone in the room instantly understood the implication. What was his solution? Well, if Carter physically couldn't hold a frying pan anymore, Meadows' diner wouldn't be a threat. The entire VIP room fell into an eerie, sinister silence. A moment later, Holly stood up and walked out. Only the 2 men remained. Derek took a sip of his tea and smiled cryptically. "Mr. Homer, you are as devious as ever. You knew Holly was backed into a corner, so you're using her as a disposable pawn to take out Carter. You flatter me, Mr. Derek. I'm just thinking long-term. Better to crush Meadows' diner now, before he becomes a bigger headache for us." Hearing that, Derek stood up and walked out without looking back. "I heard absolutely nothing today. Whatever you guys are planning, I have zero knowledge of it. I wish you the best of luck, Mr. Homer." The next day at noon, Meadows' diner was packed wall to wall. Despite the chaos outside, the soundproofed kitchen was a zone of focus. The only sounds were roaring flames and sizzling woks. The rich aroma of spices filled the air. Checking the time, I turned off the stove, packed the perfectly prepared lunch boxes, and slipped out the back door. The Sterling Corporation building wasn't far from my diner. It was only a 30-minute drive. Staring at the towering, majestic skyscraper, I clicked my tongue in awe, grabbed the lunch boxes, and walked in. The moment I stepped inside, the receptionist blocked my path. Seeing my handsome face, the receptionist asked a soft, sweet voice, "Hello, sir. Who are you looking for? Do you have an appointment?" I scratched my head and introduced myself. "I'm Carter Cole. Your boss told me to bring her lunch. She told you guys, right?" The receptionist looked genuinely shocked. Clearly, she had no idea. Luckily, at that exact moment, Monica stepped out of the elevator. She tossed a VIP access badge at me and laughed. "Did Brother Carter bring lunch for me?" Saying that, she playfully reached for the lunchbox. I dodged her effortlessly. "Nope, this is for your boss. You guys know each other, right?" the receptionist asked Monica curiously. Monica nodded, pointed at the badge in my hand, and grinned. "This is our CEO's boyfriend. Next time you see him, just let him right through." As soon as she dropped that bomb, not just the receptionist, but several employees walking by stopped dead in their tracks. Their jaws practically hit the floor in sheer disbelief. Their Ice Queen Goddess CEO actually had a boyfriend? Unable to handle the intense staring, I quickly made a beeline for the elevator. Yeah, I'm busy delivering food. You guys keep chatting." Watching me run away, Monica giggled to herself. "Looks like our boss's boyfriend is a bit shy, and honestly, totally adorable." Once in the elevator, I pressed the button for the top floor. The doors slowly slid shut. Inside the penthouse office, Serena was reviewing documents. After signing them, she stacked them neatly to the side. Suddenly, the office door burst open without a knock. This made Serena, who was a stickler for rules, furrow her brows. She looked up, fully intending to fire whoever lacked basic manners. But the moment she saw it was me, her anger evaporated instantly. I walked in, slammed the lunchbox on her desk, and pouted. "Here's your lunch. I delivered it. My restaurant is still swamped, so I'm heading back. Just leave the box here when you're done. I'll pick it up tomorrow." Saying that, I turned to leave. Suddenly, I heard a sharp gust of wind behind me. I dodged on pure reflex. A thick binder of documents flew right past my ear and smashed into the wall with a deafening crack. "What the hell are you doing?" I glared at Serena, absolutely furious. Serena just looked back down at her papers. Her tone was infuriatingly calm. "Nothing. My hand slipped." "Your hand slipped and a heavy binder flew 40 feet across the room. You were clearly aiming for my head." Defeated, I dragged a chair over, sat down next to her, opened the lunchbox, and grabbed the chopsticks to spoon feed her. But Serena coldly demanded, "I want soup first." I grabbed the thermos from the bottom tier containing the egg drop soup and handed it to Serena. But she didn't even move a muscle. She just kept her eyes glued to her documents. Seeing this, I instantly knew what this she-wolf wanted. Gritting my teeth, I took a sip of the scalding egg soup, held it in my mouth, and leaned in close to her lips. Before I could even initiate the transfer, Serena wrapped her arms around the back of my head, sucked every last drop of soup from my mouth, and sensually licked her lips in total satisfaction. "Tastes delicious." Then she grabbed the lunchbox and started eating on her own. She kicked off her designer heels, placed her stocking-clad feet squarely on my lap, and ordered with a tone that brooked no argument, "Masa my feet. You aren't leaving until I say you've massaged enough." She is so ridiculously unreasonable, I grumbled internally, but still obediently lifted her feet and started giving her a foot rub. Actually, it feels pretty soft. The employees downstairs wouldn't believe it even in their wildest dreams. The flawless ice goddess they worshipped was currently behaving like a total degenerate in private. Not long after, the lunchbox of braised pork and rice was completely spotless, devoured by Serena. Satisfied, she took a napkin, elegantly dabbed the oil from her lips, pulled her feet back, and slipped her red-soled heels back on. I felt a tiny twinge of disappointment. But honestly, I wasn't enjoying the massage at all. I swear, I just saw that Serena was tired and wanted to help her relax. I'm an upstanding gentleman. Asterisk. I am absolutely not a degenerate who likes massaging feet in black stockings. Once Serena finished her food, I stood up, ready to head back. Suddenly, as if she realized something, she called out to me. I walked closer, confused. Without warning, Serena reached out and yanked me into a tight hug. She greedily inhaled my scent like a drug addict. Just when I thought she was only going for a hug, a sharp, piercing pain erupted on my neck. It hurt so much I gasped for air. I stumbled back 2 steps, clutching my neck, my face contorted in pain. Serena licked the corner of her mouth, her eyes glinting dangerously. The mark on your neck was fading, so I left a fresh one. Is there a problem? I snatched the empty lunchbox from the desk and stormed out of the office in a rage. She is a literal she-wolf. Watching me stomp away, Serena's lips curled into a wicked smirk. A soft, terrifying chuckle escaped her, meant only for her own ears. As expected of the man I chose, absolutely perfect. Carter Cole, in this lifetime, don't even dream of escaping my grasp. When I got back to Meadows Diner, the lunch rush was officially over. Only Wendy and our little cleaning robot were wiping down tables. I was just about to step in and help when the front doors were violently pushed open. A bleached blonde punk with a thug-like swagger strolled in. He looked like your textbook neighborhood delinquent. His loud entrance immediately drew the attention of the remaining diners. I instantly recognized him. This was Leo, the younger brother of my ex-girlfriend, Lily. I dropped my cleaning rag and walked out from behind the counter. Right on cue, Lily walked in as well, trailing behind Leo. I frowned at the two of them. What do you want? I'm pretty sure we already broke up. Before Lily could even open her mouth, Leo grabbed an empty beer bottle from a nearby table. He pointed it at me furiously. Listen here, you punk. You played with my sister's feelings for 5 years. If you don't fork over 10 grand right now as compensation, I'm going to smash this restaurant to pieces. The remaining customers sensed danger and quietly bolted, not wanting to be collateral damage. Kyle, who was in the kitchen, heard someone threatening to smash the place. He peeked his head out. Seeing it wasn't the giant bodyguards from the other day, he immediately grabbed a meat cleaver and charged out. Motherf! Who has a death wish? Coming to our turf to cause trouble. You think you've lived too long, huh? I put my hand up to stop him, completely ignoring the raging Leo. I turned to Lily, my brows knitted in disgust. Lily, aren't you going to explain yourself? Lily stood there stiffly, looking almost pleading. Carter, please, just give me 10 grand. My brother took out a loan from some loan sharks. If he doesn't pay them 10 grand today, they're going to chop off his hands. Hearing that, I was so angry I actually laughed. I mocked her without an ounce of mercy. You have some incredibly thick skin, like bulletproof levels of thick skin. We have zero relationship anymore. He's your brother. Why on earth should I pay his debts? Just because your skin is thick enough to ask? Lily felt completely humiliated. Unable to hold back her anger, she screamed. I was with you for 5 years. You wasted 5 years of my youth. Giving me a little money to help my brother. Is that too much to ask? This woman's shameless logic made even Kyle snap. He fired back. Your 5 years was your youth, but Carter's 5 years wasn't? You really have no shame. For 2 years after graduation, you didn't even get a job. You lived off Carter's money. Now that you're broken up, he hasn't even asked for a refund. And you have the audacity to demand more money? Lily wanted to argue back, but she couldn't find a single logical counterargument. In her twisted mind, because I was her boyfriend, it was my divine duty to spend money on her. At that moment, Leo couldn't take the disrespect anymore. He chucked the heavy glass beer bottle straight at Kyle's head. This is between us. Who told a nobody like you to butt in? The beer bottle sailed through the air in a deadly arc. Kyle instinctively squeezed his eyes shut, bracing for impact. We all heard the sickening sound of glass shattering, followed by Wendy's horrified scream. Kyle finally opened his eyes, only to see me standing right in front of him. Blood was streaming down my forehead. If it were a normal person, they'd be on the floor screaming in agony. But I just stood there, completely expressionless. I didn't even flinch. I slowly turned my head and locked eyes with Leo. I reached into my pocket, pulled out a bank card, and tossed it at his feet. My voice was ice. There's 10 grand on that card. I was originally saving it for our wedding fund. Since you want compensation so badly, take it. Hearing that, Leo greedily snatched the card off the floor. Kyle and Wendy looked at me in total confusion, not understanding why I would cave. I glared coldly at Lily. My eyes held a deep, menacing implication. Under my freezing gaze, Lily instinctively looked away. I said coldly, your debt to me is settled now. It's time to settle your debt to me. Leo frowned. What's that supposed to mean? I let out a chilling laugh. Lily, 2 years ago, my aunt gave you a bank card. Every month, she deposited 2 grand into it. By now, there should be at least 48 grand on it, right? That money was supposed to be given to me, but you kept it hidden and spent it all on yourself. You didn't spend a single dime of it on me. I looked over at Kyle and asked loudly, Kyle, tell me, what happens if this goes to court? Kyle instantly caught my drift. He smirked wickedly. That money belongs to Carter's aunt. Lily, what you did is technically embezzlement and grand theft. If we go to court, you're looking at 10 to 15 years in a federal cell, plus the 20 grand of Carter's money you mooched over 5 years. You might just get life in prison. Hearing this, Lily's face drained of all color. It was paper white. She had planned to grab the 10 grand and run away to hide. She never expected me to know about the secret bank card. Leo looked at his sister suspiciously. Seeing her terrified, ghostly pale face, he instantly knew I was telling the truth. But at this point, telling him to cough up the 10 grand he just scored was impossible. This is your problem. It has nothing to do with me. Without a second of hesitation, Leo chose to throw his own sister under the bus and bolted out of the restaurant. Lily never expected her own brother to abandon her so ruthlessly. Once Leo was gone, I gave Kyle a subtle nod. He nodded back, grabbed a meat cleaver, and quietly snuck out the back door. Carter, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please don't sue me, okay? Lily rushed forward and grabbed my arm. Her pleading eyes looked incredibly pathetic. Suddenly, as if a light bulb went off, she begged, Carter, let's get back together. Just like before. I promise I'll love you even more. Please? If this were the old me, hearing those words would have made me so happy I'd stay awake all night. But now, I violently shoved her hands away. I said coldly, you reap what you sow. I finally see you for who you are. You never actually liked me. For 5 years you took my aunt's money and paraded around, satisfying your own vanity. But you never even bought me a single t-shirt. Get out. Go home and wait for a letter from my lawyer. People have to pay the price for their mistakes. Lily didn't want to give up. She tried to grab me again. I just yelled toward the kitchen, Buster, see the guest out. Buster charged out of the kitchen like a furry missile. Seeing Lily, he lunged at her, baring his razor-sharp teeth. If he clamped down, he'd definitely tear a chunk of meat off. Terrified out of her mind, Lily turned and ran for her life. Buster chased right on her heels, occasionally snapping his jaws right at her rear end. Watching that scene was unbelievably satisfying. In the messy restaurant, Wendy grabbed a first aid kit and started bandaging my head. Looking at the gash, she frowned. Boss, this cut is pretty deep. I think you need to go to the hospital and get some stitches. Let Kyle watch the shop this afternoon. You go get that treated. I didn't argue. After Wendy finished wrapping my head, I walked out of the restaurant. At that exact same time, in an alleyway not far from Meadows' diner, Leo was excitedly clutching the bank card, strutting down the street like he owned the place. As he walked past a dark corner, the back of his knees was suddenly struck by something solid. He screamed in pain. You blind idiot! Do you know who I am? You dare touch me? Before he could even finish his threat, a foul-smelling fertilizer sack was shoved forcefully over his head. Then Kyle dragged him deep into the dark alley, pulled out a massive, heavy cow bone that Buster had buried out back, and smashed it directly onto Leo's skull. You were talking real tough a minute ago, weren't you? Let's see you talk tough now. Whack! Whack! The relentless strikes to Leo's head made him scream in absolute agony. Worse than the pain was the suffocating, nauseating smell of manure inside the sack, which almost made him barf up yesterday's lunch. Finally, he broke down and begged, Hero, spare my life! Hero, spare me! I was wrong! I was really wrong. Kyle had been training with me for quite a while. He swung that massive bone with terrifying force. Every strike was accompanied by the whistling of wind, followed by a pathetic scream. A few minutes later, Leo lay motionless inside the fertilizer sack. Seeing this, Kyle opened the sack. He looked down at the previously arrogant Leo, who was now a bruised, swollen mess. A puddle of urine had formed beneath him. I haven't even gone all out and you're already out cold? Kyle sneered. He crouched down, fished the bank card out of Leo's pocket, and checked to make sure nobody was watching. With a wicked, sinister grin, he slowly began unbuckling his own belt. About 3 minutes later, Kyle whistled a happy tune as he strolled out of the alley. Time flew by, and soon it was evening. The moment Serena finished work, she rushed straight to the restaurant, ready to find me and recharge her energy. But as soon as she walked in, Wendy approached her. Miss Serena, the boss took the night off. Did he not tell you? Serena frowned. I was confused. Where did he go? Seeing that Serena genuinely had no clue, Wendy gave her a quick rundown of the whole drama with Lily causing trouble that afternoon. Especially when she mentioned Leo throwing the beer bottle, she sounded incredibly angry. When Serena heard that I was injured, her pupils shrank to pinpricks. An aura of absolute terrifying violence erupted from her, making everyone in the room tremble. Without another word, she spun around and marched out of the restaurant. She walked straight to her car, commanded the driver to get out, and slid into the driver's seat herself. She rolled the window down and ordered the driver coldly, "Pull the security footage. I want to see exactly what happened here this afternoon." With that, Serena slammed her foot on the gas. The black Bentley roared into the night, transforming into a dark phantom, speeding towards my house at 100 miles an hour. Carter is my man. I don't even have the heart to hit him myself, and some absolute nobody dared to hurt him? Meanwhile, I had just gotten my stitches and was fast asleep in my bed. I was completely oblivious to the sound of my front door unlocking. A moment later, my bedroom door creaked open. The sharp click-clack of high heels echoed in the dark room. As I slept, I felt a heavy weight pressing down on my chest. I forced my eyes open, blurry-eyed, and saw Serena straddling my waist. I rubbed my sleepy eyes. "What are you doing here in the middle of the night?" Serena didn't answer. She reached out and gently traced the bandage on my head. Her cold eyes turned even frostier. She asked in a lethal tone, "You got hurt? Why didn't you tell me immediately?" Stared down by her like a child caught stealing candy, I reflexively looked away and muttered, "What does it have to do with you? Why do I have to report my injuries to you?" That single sentence was the match that lit the powder keg. Serena clenched her fists, then raised a hand and clamped it tightly around my throat. She smiled a terrifying, cold smile. "Fine, I'll remind you exactly what our relationship is." And with that, she fiercely kissed me. When I woke up the next morning, I stared blankly at the familiar ceiling. As soon as I tried to sit up, a wave of intense soreness washed over me. Remembering the sheer madness of last night, I couldn't help but slowly turn my head to look at Serena sleeping next to me. She is a literal T-Rex in human form! I was completely drained, but she was still wide awake and full of energy. Maybe my movement woke her up because Serena slowly opened her eyes and looked right at me. Especially when she saw the lingering fear in my eyes, she smiled an incredibly arrogant, triumphant smile. She placed a finger under my chin and asked with sadistic amusement, "Now do you remember what our relationship is?" I turned my head away, still stubbornly grumbling. "What relationship? We're just friends, that's all." A loud, crisp slap echoed through the room. I was stunned. A bright red handprint quickly bloomed on my right cheek. Serena showed absolutely zero mercy. She seemed to have completely figured me out. To conquer a guy like me, she had to completely crush me with absolute overwhelming dominance. Then, she slowly wrapped her hand around my throat again. Her voice was sub-zero. "Wrong. Try again. Friends?" She slapped me again. "This is your last chance." By now, both my cheeks were stinging and red. Looking at Serena, who had suddenly turned incredibly violent, I swallowed my pride and whimpered. "A romantic relationship." Hearing that answer, Serena finally looked satisfied. She reached out and gently caressed my swollen cheek. She smiled coldly. "Remember what you just said. If you give me the wrong answer again, I swear to God I will turn you into my pet canary. I'll lock you in an iron cage. For the rest of your life, you will belong to no one but me." After her terrifying discipline session, Serena started getting dressed right in front of me, without a single ounce of modesty. It was like we were an old married couple. My face instantly burned red. "Does this woman not know what shame is?" Serena, with her back facing me, picked up her black lace underwear from the floor and slipped it on. She casually announced, "You have exactly 3 minutes to get up, wash your face, and brush your teeth. If you are 1 second late, I'm kissing you for another hour." Hearing that, I didn't dare hesitate for a millisecond. I scrambled out of bed and grabbed a random outfit from my closet. Just as I was about to put it on, a ridiculously expensive black dress shirt was thrown at my face. It was the one from the mall. "Wear this," Serena ordered softly. I didn't dare refuse. I threw it on as fast as humanly possible, then sprinted to the bathroom to wash up and brush my teeth. When I walked out, intending to head to the kitchen, I saw Serena strutting toward me in her red-soled stilettos. Before I could even react, she smashed her lips against mine. I looked at her, utterly defeated, thinking I should probably just be proactive about this. About 3 minutes later, Serena finally let me go, looking very satisfied. She wiped her mouth, flashing a seductive smile. "You were 3 seconds late. That was your penalty. Let's go. I'm having my driver take you to the hospital for a full body scan." With that, she walked straight out the door. I had no choice but to follow like a beaten puppy. Outside my little 2-story house, 2 identical black Bentleys were parked on the curb. Serena walked down the steps, shoved me into one of the cars, and ordered the bodyguard in the driver's seat. "Find the absolute best surgeon in the city. Do a comprehensive, head-to-toe scan on my little man." Saying that, the car's engine roared to life, speeding off toward the best private hospital in Kingsville. Serena got into the other car. As soon as she sat down, her driver immediately handed her a tablet. "Miss Sterling, here is the footage from Meadows Diner yesterday. We've completed the background check. The people involved are Carter Cole's ex-girlfriend and her younger brother. How would you like to handle them?" Hearing that, Serena took the tablet and scrubbed the video right to the moment Leo threw the beer bottle, which I blocked with my head. Seeing my head covered in blood on the screen, Serena's eyes flashed with a terrifying demonic light. She turned off the screen and said in a voice completely devoid of human emotion, "Find a quiet, secluded place, invite those 2 to meet me. I want to have a little chat with them." The driver nodded, understanding perfectly. He slammed the gas pedal. The car launched forward, disappearing at the end of the street. At the top hospital in Kingsville, after a grueling series of tests and scans, I was finally sitting on a bench in the hallway. A massive bodyguard walked up to me, handing me a boba tea and 2 steamed buns. "Young Master Carter, Miss Sterling gave explicit orders. You must eat breakfast immediately after your tests." Having just been poked and prodded, seeing the food, I sighed in annoyance and shook my head. "I don't want it. I'm not hungry. You eat it." The hulking bodyguard stayed totally silent. He pulled out his phone and handed it to me. From the speaker, Serena's freezing voice echoed, "Are you going to eat it yourself, or do I need to drive over there and force feed you?" I didn't hesitate for a fraction of a second. I snatched the breakfast from the bodyguard's hands and started scarfing it down. On the other end of the line, Serena let out a soft hemph. She said gently, "Good boy. Once you get your results, come wait in my office. I have some business to attend to." Before I could even reply, she hung up. Meanwhile, at an undisclosed location, inside an abandoned factory on the outskirts of Kingsville, the warehouse was pitch black, the floor covered in an inch of thick dust. It looked like it had been abandoned for decades. Serena sat elegantly on a chair, hanging up her phone. She slowly raised her head, staring at the 2 siblings, Lily and Leo, who were tied tightly to chairs in front of her. She spoke with icy detachment. "I really don't know who gave you the Corregidor touch what is mine, but since you did, you have to pay the toll." As she spoke, one of the bodyguards standing behind Serena stepped forward. In Leo's absolutely terrified eyes, the bodyguard grabbed the exact hand Leo used to throw the bottle yesterday. With a slight twist, the bodyguard casually snapped 2 of Leo's fingers backward. The excruciating, agonizing pain almost made Leo pass out. He thrashed wildly against his ropes, but his mouth was taped shut, so he could only let out muffled guttural screams. Standing next to him, Lily watched this happen with sheer horror in her eyes. Her legs were trembling so hard her entire body shook. She was literally asleep in her bed when two massive goons kicked her door down, tied her up without a word, and dragged her here. And now, she was witnessing this brutal torture. She had only broken up with Carter a few days ago, and he already had a new girlfriend, this psychopathic? If she had known, she never would have tried to extort him yesterday. Not only did she not get the money, but now she was in a literal horror movie. Serena shifted her gaze to Lily. She motioned for the bodyguard to remove the tape from her mouth. I have a question. The bodyguard stepped up silently, ripped the tape off Lily's mouth, grabbed her roughly by the hair, and yanked her head back to face Serena. Please, please let me go. I swear I'll never bother Carter again. I really won't. Lily sobbed, tears streaming down her face. She looked incredibly weak and pitiful, the kind of look that usually made men want to protect her. But Serena's eyes only grew colder. Instead of sympathy, she looked at Lily like she was looking at a cockroach. She asked coldly, "Did I give you permission to speak?" Slap her. A series of brutal slaps echoed through the empty warehouse, accompanied by Lily's agonizing screams. By the time Serena signaled them to stop, Lily's face was beaten so badly it was unrecognizable. Even her own parents wouldn't be able to pick her out of a lineup. Serena sat gracefully in her chair, like a high court judge presiding over a trial. Her voice was cold as she asked her first question. You and Carter were together for 5 years. Did you ever live together? Even though she had already interrogated Carter about this, Serena wanted double confirmation. She was 100% sure Lily wouldn't dare lie right now. Lily shook her head in sheer terror, her voice trembling. No, never. I was scared that if he got what he wanted, he would dump me, so I never let him. Hearing that, Serena pulled a medical report out of a folder. She looked at Lily with intense, terrifying curiosity. You never lived with Carter, yet you have a history of intimate activities at least 5 separate times, which means while you were dating him, you were sleeping with another man. Who is he? Or should I say, who are they? Absolute panic flashed in Lily's eyes. She never expected Serena to have dug up her medical history. She thought she had hidden it perfectly. Seeing Lily stay silent, Serena said coldly, I'll give you 3 seconds to answer. For every second you delay, I add another hour to your punishment. It was my brother! Finally, unable to handle the psychological terror, Lily broke down and confessed. She lowered her head in utter shame. This answer not only shocked Serena, but even the 2 hardened bodyguards looked at Lily with pure, unadulterated disgust. It was physically nauseating. Suddenly losing all interest in torturing such filth, Serena asked briefly, Stand up. Let's leave. Miss, what should we do with these 2? A bodyguard asked as he followed her out. Put their bodies back the way you found them. Then, publicly release every single dirty secret they've ever hidden. Let them rot in their own filth. After finishing my checkup at the hospital, I was escorted straight to Serena's penthouse office by her bodyguards. Seeing nobody else around, I curiously opened the drawer of Serena's desk. Inside the drawer was a thick stack of photos, neatly organized, and every single one of them was a photo of me. This woman's hobbies are seriously creepy. Right then, my phone rang. I curiously pulled it out and saw it was a call from Wendy. What's up? Wendy's voice sounded a bit hesitant on the other end. Boss, you remember you told me to hire a new chef, right? Well, a guy showed up. His cooking is actually really good, but his resume is a little sketchy. Hearing that, I didn't care at all. I kicked my feet up onto Serena's desk and said casually, whatever. We're just a diner, not a Fortune 500 company. Resumes are just pieces of paper anyway. Doesn't matter if he has one or not. As long as the food is good, that's all that matters. Tell him his trial period starts tomorrow. $2,000 a month for the trial, $3,500 when he's official. Who cares? Our business is booming anyway. Meanwhile, back at Meadows' diner, Wendy and Kyle were hiding behind the counter, staring nervously at the man standing in front of them. He was at least 6'7", bulging, veiny muscles, a black dragon tattoo snaking up his neck, and a massive gnarly scar running down his forearm. He looked like a guy you definitely didn't want to mess with. He didn't look like an honest citizen at all. Wendy stammered. The boss says you can start your trial tomorrow. $2,000 for the trial, $3,500 official. The giant man named Victor nodded. His voice was a deep, gravelly bass. Thank you. I'll be here on time tomorrow. With that, Victor slowly turned and walked out. Only after he left did the suffocating tension in the diner finally dissipate. Both of them let out huge sighs of relief. The aura this guy gave off was insane. With a presence like that, why wasn't he running a mafia cartel? Why did he want to flip burgers at a diner? At the same time, in Serena's office, I had fallen fast asleep. Last night, I was tortured by a crazy woman until dawn. This morning, I was dragged out for exhausting medical tests. I had been drained for a while. Now that I finally had a free moment, I naturally passed out. I didn't know how long I slept. When I woke up, lifting my head from the desk, the sun was already setting outside the window. My face screamed, starving. I had literally slept the entire day away. Serena saw me wake up, put down her pen, and said with a hint of coldness, sleeping from morning till dusk, You really are a lazy pig. Hearing that, I rolled my eyes. Is it my fault? Didn't a certain Miss Sterling keep me up all night playing games? Oh, did I? Serena gave a deeply suggestive smirk. My face instantly turned beet red as the memories flooded back. I couldn't help but look down, not daring to meet her eyes. After all, last night was not my proudest moment as a man. I have no idea what kind of martial art she practices, but I was completely outmatched. I was squeezed dry to the very last drop. Let's go, it's getting late. Since you're injured, I won't force you to cook today. I'm taking you out for dinner. After tidying up her desk, Serena grabbed my arm and pulled me out of the office. under the incredibly thirsty, gossipy stares of all her employees. As the elevator doors closed, the employees waiting in the lobby exploded into whispers. "Oh my god, is that the CEO Serena I know? The ice goddess is suddenly acting like a sweet little girlfriend. Is this the magic power of love? That guy looks pretty average to me. I'm a software engineer. I've been hitting the gym for 2.5 years. I could take him." The chauffeur was already waiting by the curb. Seeing Serena approach, he immediately started the engine. Once inside the car, Serena climbed right onto my lap again. It seemed she had gotten totally used to treating me as her personal ergonomic chair and human body pillow. A subtle, intoxicating fragrance drifted from her hair into my nose. I actually felt weirdly comfortable. From my vantage point, I had a very clear view of her assets. Serena noticed my wandering eyes. She leaned in, her lips brushing my ear, and whispered, "Oh, Mr. Cole, it seems your eyes aren't behaving themselves today. Do you like what you see?" Caught in the act, I quickly snapped my head to look out the window. I coughed awkwardly twice. "It's average, just very average." Seeing my flustered reaction, Serena laughed out loud. She leaned all her weight against me, blowing softly into my ear. "We could just go home right now. Then you can look at whatever you want, however you want. This woman is an absolute succubus." I quickly started reciting math equations in my head to stop myself from falling for her trap. Seeing me stay silent, Serena looked a little disappointed. It was as if she felt her feminine charm was losing its power. She looked down and noticed the bite mark on my neck was starting to fade. She instantly got annoyed. She bared her perfectly white little teeth and bit me hard. "Let's see you ignore this." Immediately, a tragic scream filled the car. I tried to push Serena away with all my might, but it was useless. In fact, she just bit down harder, her face full of smug triumph. I was furious. Seeing her long, elegant, pale neck right in front of me, I decided to give her a taste of her own medicine. I leaned forward and bit her right back. Instantly, she let out a yelp of pain. Her eyes widened in shock. She clearly never expected me to have the guts to bite back. In retaliation, she bit me even harder. The driver watched the two of us literally biting each other like stray dogs in the rearview mirror. He just kept his mouth shut. He wanted to remind his boss to maintain her elegant image, but decided he valued his life. Thankfully, the restaurant wasn't far, and we arrived quickly. We finally let go of each other, opened the doors, and got out. Serena aggressively linked her arm through mine. She glared at me with razor-sharp eyes and gritted her teeth. "You little punk, wait until we get home. I'll show you who's boss." Hearing that, I didn't back down an inch. I glared right back at the demon queen. "I'm not scared of you. It's do or die. Why should I suffer the humiliation? We'll see who begs for mercy tonight." The stormy night passed quickly. Nobody knows exactly what happened in our house that night, but the muffled sounds of intense struggling could be heard from midnight all the way until dawn. 8 a.m. Meadows' diner hadn't opened yet. I yawned hugely and stumbled through the front door looking like a zombie. I was walking with a slight limp. Wendy was mopping the floor. Seeing the fresh bite marks and dark bruises all over my neck, she gasped, "Boss, what happened to your neck?" Hearing that, I walked toward the kitchen, grumbling, "Got attacked by a rabid dog." Thinking about how Serena had literally stepped on my face last night in victory, I ground my teeth together so hard they squeaked. Seriously, that woman is a literal Tyrannosaurus Rex in a designer dress. I marched angrily into the kitchen. Suddenly, my entire body was engulfed in a massive shadow. A giant silhouette blocked my path. I looked up and saw a man standing at least 6'7". The sheer physical pressure radiating off him made me instinctively tremble. I stood there frozen and asked, Who are you?" Wendy walked in, completely understanding my terrified reaction. "Did you forget, boss? This is the new chef starting his trial today." The giant man bowed slightly, smiling respectfully. "Hello, Mr. Cole. My name is Victor. I'm from Kingsville. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'll work very hard." I was too stunned to speak. The guy was literally twice my width. Usually, a chef needs to do a lot of prep work before cooking. But today, the kitchen was strangely peaceful. The only sound was the rhythmic, lightning-fast chopping of a knife. I stared in absolute shock as Victor minced meat. His hands moved like a blur. In less than a minute, the meat was practically reduced to fine powder. Victor scooped the meat onto a plate. I asked, amazed, "How long have you been a chef?" Victor scratched his head, looking shy. "My dad used to be a head chef. I wasn't great at school, so I've been learning to cook from him since I was a kid." A light bulb went off in my head. I nodded. "No wonder your knife skills are so insane. With a master chef like this, what do I have to worry about?" Thinking about this, I couldn't help but get incredibly excited. It was as if I could already see the glorious future where I finally defeat Serena and step on her face. Just thinking about it made me feel invincible.